Hello, hello, friends. I think that we are live. As I always say, there is a 100% chance for technical difficulties on my channel. I have actually Brad, the comeback card investor, lent me one of his modems from 1998. So that's what we've been running with. And so if it breaks up a little bit, just hang on. We will come back on. But in all seriousness, I'm excited to be here with you guys. I have one of my hobby friends here with me tonight, Chris. He runs a VegasFinds777 YouTube channel, very popular channel, and he self-proclaimed thinks he has the funniest sports card YouTube channel. I don't know about that. Actually, no, I do. I agree. I think Chris actually is the funniest. But anyway, without further ado, let me bring him in here. Chris, what's up, man?
Not much, not much. I appreciate the introduction, but I don't think it's the funniest. I just think it's reasonable. You know, nothing too bad. That's all.
Reasonably funny.
Yeah, reasonably funny. But it's not my fault if the viewer doesn't know how to laugh.
I respect, hey, just with how many videos I make and how many videos you make, I respect taking the extra time to get jokes in, because honestly, sometimes you just want to kind of get your message out or kind of talk about what you're talking about. It takes extra time to kind of mix in all that stuff. So I appreciate it.
It does, man. It does. It takes a lot of time and planning, and then you have to go through and put all the little funny this and that and edit everything. It takes like 7 hours to make 5 minutes. It's nonsense.
No, it's true. I don't know about 7 hours, but dude, I just try to, and sadly, I kind of recycle like the Kawhi Leonard laugh, you know, and I'll like throw that in. You know, I just keep I just mix in the same stuff. Hopefully, nobody notices. That's why I make so many videos, so that people just forget.
It's rare. Like he doesn't really laugh ever. Can you imagine that guy at holiday gatherings?
Yeah, I wonder what Kawhi is doing right now.
Probably sleeping. I don't know. Sorry, I have a mail day. The Kareem Abdul-Jabbar 2014 Prism Mojo.
Interesting.
Very nice card right there.
So while you're looking at that, and I was talking to another one of my buddies about this. Are you into kind of like I saw on your channel, maybe it was Kareem, but also Magic Johnson stuff, but like not old stuff, newer stuff, but kind of like exactly what you showed, like a 2015 Prism, whatever. Are you picking up a lot of that stuff?
I'm picking up a little bit of it because I think that there are definitely cards that you want to have of those players that are undervalued. Like these are some of the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar 2012 Prism cards. I mean, anytime you have a guy that's in 2012 Prism, there's, you know, if it's a famous guy or a Hall of Famer, the card should be at least 15 or 20 bucks. You know what I mean? So when I go and I see the Kareem, he's one of the best players of all time, and his cards are like $6, 2012 Prism. Clearly, there's a lot of room to move. It's not that they're not worth more. It's just that the market hasn't. They don't realize it yet. Awareness is king in this market.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's actually a really good point. Because if you think about 2012 Prism, it's like everything's expensive. So what's not expensive? And it's like, oh, honestly, I didn't even know there was all-time greats in that set and in these later sets until fairly recently. I didn't even know that was a thing because I wasn't looking for them.
There's those, and then you have the short print variations. And I've been picking up some of these of the 2014 Prism colored variations of Kareem because I really like this. They have the old school, you know, 70s Bucks picture. And I think just it's a quite attractive card. So I've been picking those up too. I actually prefer the 2014 Prism to 2013 Prism, surprisingly enough.
Yeah, I actually like, and I don't know if we've talked about this. I like the 13 through 17 Prism a lot better than the 12. Like the 12 is just kind of bland to me, but I think it's an important set. But I do like a lot of that stuff.
I mean, it's okay, right? It looks just kind of your standard guy. I don't know, nothing too fancy about it. Maybe like a hubcap on the outside, whatever, perimeter. Yeah. You know, it's not too bad. But I see what you're saying. Like, certainly they've done more innovation with their designs as of late.
I kind of like too that exactly what you just showed. Like, you can get like a nice parallel of like Kareem. How much was that? How much did that cost?
Well, I got these for under $10 a piece, and I think that's a steal because if you look up these blue Mojos from 2014, a guy like Duncan or a guy like Lillard, they're like $40 cards. So finding one of those and having it be like a $10 card is a pretty good deal. And there's not that many of them. It doesn't take that much attention to realize the actual price that that card should be at.
I agree. All right, let's say hi to the people in the chat. Chris Nolan, how you doing, buddy? Tom, I can't say your last name, man, but I've seen you. You've been commenting like crazy. On the videos. I really appreciate it. Bradley, how you doing, bud?
Party, man. Party's there. It's part of it.
That's right. Ben Clark, good to see you. Alex, global sports card investor from Australia, tuning in. What time is it in Australia?
I think they're 14 hours ahead or something of Vegas. Could be something. Maybe it's less. I know it's crazy though.
How you doing, Nick? Francisco, always good to see you, my man. William Graves, John at JPO Art. Speaking of John, so John did the sports card investor. He did a big piece of art for him, for Jeff. Okay. Yeah, John's a really good guy. Grumpy card guy, good to see you. What card is easier to break out of a PSA case, Chris?
The only PSA case I'm breaking, guys, is my skull. I will take an axe to my skull next time. Hey, that was fun. It was a fun video. We learned, and honestly, the card is not that damaged. There's just a very small, like, little crimpity thing at the top of it. It still looks good, and it's probably still an upgrade from having all the wax on it if I resubmit it. So it's, still okay. I
should probably also say I apologize to Jeff at Sports Card Investor. I mean, I know he's doing his virtual event tonight. We've already pulled 18 people from his show, so I know that he's probably really sweating it big time. But no, I like Jeff. He's a good guy. But we just happen to be on with like everybody tonight. But you know what? We're just trying to pull these ratings. You know what? We don't mind competing. We don't mind competing at all.
You don't even have to try, man. I mean, I could do the same shit that they're doing over there right now all day. Upper Deck, Artemi Panarin, not graded, $15. I could go Jetson's Robot, 2014 out of 49. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, $38. Damn, easy game. And yep, that's a nice card. That's a nice card.
We'll put on our virtual event.
And I think we're going to do group submissions as well. Why the hell not? Everybody else is doing it. Why can't we?
All right. So good segue. We were talking about this before we got on. So Chris, you will find in what he says is that he is not a big fan of group submissions, and kind of walk through why that is. Actually, I've seen you explain this before, but tell me, kind of, walk us through that.
Well, the whole grading process is you have, point A, which is collector with card, and then you have point B, expert that wants to look at, grade cards, send back to collector. So that's an A to B situation. And I don't see the purpose of a middleman. Unless PSA can't do their job, which is grade the cards they're being sent, what is the middleman doing? He's not helping the person figure out whether the card should be graded. The card is still going to be in shitty condition if it goes to the middleman, or mint condition if it goes. So why is I'll tell you what, there's a reason why everybody and their brother is becoming a group submitter, because they get to charge you money for packaging your cards and sending them to PSA, which you can just do yourself. It's literally like wearing somebody else's underwear to use the bathroom. Just wear your own. I just don't see the point.
Ben actually brings up a fairly good point here. Good for internationals.
That makes good sense, but that makes good logical sense. If you can't get your cards because you're from another country, sending them to the United States to one dude who will then deal with it, that makes perfect sense. I'm in.
Good stuff. All right. What are you, talk to me a little bit about your holiday, but you're a reseller. Obviously you're into cards, but we've talked about all things collectibles. We've talked about vinyl records. I mean, you're all over I would say you're more of like a master reseller. You're in a bunch of different things. What do you have, like, with the holidays coming up? Are you selling more because of that, or are you kind of just taking a break from it all? I mean, what's kind of what are you up to these days?
Well, I'm doing so much with sports cards, and I'm so much more passionate about sports cards than everything else that we're basically taking all of the mid to low end stuff, all the stuff that we don't care about having long term, the death pile, so to speak, or not as bad, but we're trying to get rid of all of that stuff, because now is exactly the time when people are willing to buy things for other people that wouldn't normally get purchased, and at reasonable prices. It's not like you're gouging somebody's eyes out for an Elvis record. You know, it's just like $12, they'll buy it now instead of $8 later. So the time is now to strike while everything's cool, everybody's home, everybody's got money for this and that, because you don't know what's going to happen going forward with COVID and everything else, or, you know, other government payments for unemployment. All this other crazy stuff is up in the air. But we know that people are home right now. We know it's the holidays. We know they can't travel to be with loved ones. We spoke about that last time we were together. So it's a good time. And me, the only reason why I'm into all that stuff is because we were talking, you know, like before, the group submissions, point A to point B. Money is just the vehicle from point A to point B. You find an item and you sell it to somebody for more than you paid for it. And I just happened to really be into music when I was a kid, and collectibles, and I used to trade BMX bike parts. So it all just, you know, in that realm, I'm into a lot of it, but I don't get into Funko Pops. Not my jive.
Yeah, I know. I've, you know, once I kind of heard about them, I looked into it a little bit, and it was just not, well, I saw them even at like, where was I? Not like Books A Million, but Barnes & Noble had like 500,000. I didn't even know Barnes & Nobles were still open.
Yeah, no, they're open.
But
vinyl too.
Yeah, Funko Pops are just, I don't know. I couldn't get into it. But so typically, obviously, this year is a weird year. Are you mainly buying everything online and selling online and doing it that way? Or are you able to get out and do, you know, would you typically be garage sailing and doing that part of this too? Or is it all online?
I'll tell you what, there's a few things that have happened. First of all is the OfferUp, garage sale, that whole area is becoming more scarce because people are afraid of getting sick. And at the same time, it's becoming more competitive because people need money. So you have people that are selling stuff they've had forever because they need money. And then you have other people who are trying to find stuff to buy and resell because they need money. So there's all this I need money going into what's available and then what you can get. So with garage sales, we're not really going to them anymore. We used to go on weekends and just load up the car, grab a picnic basket and a banana, and just boom, all day long. Full tank of gas, you know, you drive all the way, all day, try to find something cool. These days, you can't really do that as much. So we're being way more careful. I'm mostly just in a cycle of buying sports cards to grade. So I'm doing a lot of research, a lot of just getting into the nooks and the crannies of catalysts that are going to come up in the future, whether it's a Hall of Fame or, you know, career, whatever, or free agency, whatever it is. There's a lot of those catalysts, and I'm playing for the future, because if I can get the stuff now, I can flip into the market in the future, get stuff graded, and be in a cycle. Because if I send cards off every month to get graded, even though it's going to take 7 months, once you're in that cycle, you'll get that stone skipping across the pond every month. So,
right. That's a great point. No, I know that's a really good point. I have a lot of friends that do that, where they submit every month, and now it's like, you don't feel like you're waiting forever because there's always something coming back.
Exactly. So you don't even think about it. It's like Ron Popeil, set it and forget it. It's gone today, but it'll be back, and let's see. And sometimes you'll get cards back and you'll just be like, I didn't even remember I had this or what condition it was in.
Are you only going through PSA mainly? Or are you doing the BGS, SGC, CSG? Is that a thing? Are they up now?
I'm not sure if they're taking submissions yet, but I haven't used them. I will probably give them a try. I'm basically doing PSA only because I trust them and the cards are worth the most. So if all of them are going to take a long time, I would rather just use PSA, because since you're in the cycle, I can wait. I don't have to, deal with BGS and fake slabs or the perception of, and I don't have to wait for SGC to figure it out. They kind of fell off with people, and their slabs are worth way less. So I'll just take the most EV and just do the long-term plan.
Nick Wagner, pretty good question. I'll throw in my 2 cents on this, and you can too, Chris. What do you think about retail flippers? I've made good money flipping, but people always give me crap, supply and demand. I'm assuming you're talking about like retail wax, like going and getting like retail boxes at Walmarts or Targets or whatever. I'll be perfectly honest. I mean, I have no problem with this whatsoever. I mean, it is a supply and demand thing. I don't know. I think if you're business minded, you have to just kind of respect that it is what it is. And people, and also, I talked about this in a video. If you're going to be kind of, forgiving of the flippers, this is the year to be forgiving of flippers, where people, you don't know that the 9 guys that are lined up there waiting for Prism basketball or whatever it is, Optic or whatever. I mean, they might all be out of jobs. They might be in the service industry and their restaurant might be closed or whatever. I mean, everybody's trying to figure it out. So, I'm kind of more like, if it is what it is, people have to make money, and I'm not going to judge a man or a woman trying to flip what, it's all supply and demand. It's a free market system. And unless Walmart and Target puts a kibosh on buying 10 boxes, then it's kind of fair game.
Let me ask you, whose fault is it? Like the flipper himself is just an opportunist. He's there because there's X product that he can take and make more money on. People might not like that, but I mean, that's just the way it is in business. So is it Panini who sends X product to Target, and then Target, which puts that on display at X price, and then the guy comes and buys as many as he can buy? It's not the flipper's fault, but what it does, it creates an artificially inflated market where people can't get the retail, so they pay more to the flipper, and then they bust cards and get nowhere near the value, because the value in the box is supposed to correlate with a $19.99 price tag, not an $80 price tag. So you have an artificially inflated market where people are going after these hot rookies with no track record, and they're going to get a lot of hearts broken in that scenario. So whose fault is it out of all those people involved? It's not the flipper's fault.
My heart's still broken, frankly.
Yeah.
From those Calvert Chaney and Harold Miner rookie cards.
Oh, no. Harold Miner. What's up, Brad? How you doing, man? We're not competing with them. They're competing with us. We got more personality around here. This card is for sale.
The second we went live, Jeff just started sweating over there at I think he dropped from 50,000 viewers down to 49,900.
Yeah, I mean, we sold yeah, so I think that it's the people who create the cards, again, you have to strike that balance with pop counts and all that. But then at the same time, Target can limit people, but then you have people exploiting that as well. There's people lined up outside of Target when it opens, and they've got their friends, and they brought their grandmothers, and their grandmothers' 8 kids, and everybody's buying 2 boxes, and it's all going to the same person who's selling it at the retail store. So what could you do to mitigate that? The first thing is that the hobby stores could say, okay, we're not going to buy the product from the flippers, which probably won't happen, because then they can resell it and make money. So if they pay the flipper 60, they can get 80. It's a fast flip for them. Are they going to turn away $20 just to slow the flippers down, to slow the market back down? It's just a weird chain. Where it has to come from.
And honestly, if you think that these people are crazy that are at the Walmarts and the Targets that are lined up for the Prism, go on YouTube and look up on YouTube and look up 80s Cabbage Patch Dolls release or something like that. And it literally shows like the store manager drowning in a sea of people with like Cabbage Patch Dolls. I mean,
I remember it. Yes,
this is nothing. This is nothing compared to what it was. Yeah.
I think it all lies in the final person who buys the product. So if you are somebody who buys the product and you pay $80 for a $20 blaster, you are an enabler. You are enabling them to make the money that will keep feeding it to you, whether you want it or not. If somebody brings you that candy bar and you're at home and you're in a wheelchair and you can't leave your house, if they keep bringing it to you and you keep eating it, it's going to eventually kill you, but it's your fault because you keep eating it. So if you have the person buying the product, you are the reason why the market is the way that it is. You could get the product you want if you stopped buying it at the price you don't want to pay.
I keep telling Brad this, and he argues with me. He's like, he just whines at me like, why can't I get Prism? And I'm like, Brad, relax, man. It's really distasteful how you're acting. But anyway,
distasteful.
Thanks for joining, man. Thanks for joining. Brad's like, dang.
He's got a point.
We're Power Rangers. Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's so many instances of this. Power Rangers is a good one. What's another one that was? Oh man, there was Beanie Babies obviously was one, where everyone was going ballistic for those. I never owned any of those.
I never got into those either. That was when I was strictly Magic the Gathering. I didn't even have that much to do with sports cards at the time. It was just all Magic all the time. A little bit of Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! When it popped up on the side, but that was it.
Yeah.
He-Man was awesome.
I didn't get into Magic. I don't know why, though. I feel like, because you were about the same age, so I don't know why I missed the Magic boat. But, oh, my God, speaking of Magic, again, if you're talking about YouTube videos, check out, like, Magic the Gathering Meltdown video, and it's basically a guy that's about to lose. He's about to lose, and he like, flips the table, gets really upset. Fantastic.
There's guys like that for poker, too. There's a guy called Tough Fish that has that kind of content for poker.
Oh, it's funny. Oh, speaking of, are you and I know we talked about this last time. Are you still a poker player or a teacher, or are you kind of is that on hold, or what's the story with poker these days?
Look, man, when it comes to poker, you never stop playing poker. It's like Monopoly. I'm not a Monopoly player anymore. I don't play Monopoly. You always play at family gatherings, whatever. Being good at poker, playing professionally, teaching the game for 10 years, you're never going to get away from it. It's like riding a bicycle. If I wanted to pick it back up full time, I just have to get back, study and get myself back in the groove. And that might be the case if everything kind of caves in on itself and the only market left for me is online poker tournaments. That's where I'll be. But as right now, I prefer the sports card stuff and just do poker casually and on occasion. I've beat my head against that wall for years, and it's a very stressful wall. Let me tell you that.
So you're not running those $1 million a hand underground poker gangs anymore, is what you're saying?
No, unfortunately, no. It's not me. I'm not Molly.
With Ben Affleck and Tobey Maguire and all those guys?
No. But funnily enough, I played in a bunch of games like that in upstate New York over the years. There's just a bunch of Italian dudes. It's all underground. 2 or 3 of them own pizza places. They all just have games every day. They just rake the living hell out of it. It's fantastic. It's just like you see in Rounders. It's a great time. It is. It's great.
Well, is it hard for you? I mean, like being in Las Vegas, do you get that thing where you're like, I need to go to a casino and do this thing? Or are you kind of like, I don't really care about it that much? Like, is it like a thing for you or not really?
Well, I enjoy the game and I like the social aspect of it and playing, but the easy mitigation fact is that it's just not worth the risk of getting sick, given that I'm a bigger dude and got diabetes, whatever else, that type of shit. So I could really get screwed up if I got COVID. But the other thing, it's way less enjoyable because they've got these separators between the players. So they've limited the players to like 6 or 8 or however many they have. And you have these big plastic separators. You have to wear your mask. But, despite that, you're using the same cards and the same chips. So what the hell is the point? I'm a man of logic, and I can't get past that. It's just, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. William says, from poker to Pokemon.
It was actually from Magic to poker. When I was a kid, it was sports cards, comic books, BMX bikes, and then got into Magic, played that competitively, and then from Magic, my friends started getting really good at poker and making real money at poker rather than just grinding out Magic tournaments and trading, and then I got into poker from there. And now I end up back at sports cards.
I got you. Tantrums equal views. Okay, Brad, we get it. We get how you get the views now. Makes sense. Okay. Just all the crying videos. Unbelievable.
You want to see it? How is this even a 5? How is this a 5, Brad? Must be like the ones that you sent in.
Chris,
you guys see that?
Chris, we literally need to just put up fake PSA returns. Fake, where we're just complaining about like, how is this an 8? But we didn't even send it to PSA. We just bought it like that.
Yeah, but no, funnily enough, I'll have a video up at some point. PSA actually damaged this card. My declared value on this was $300. It's a 2018 Optic Lamar Jackson. I didn't include this in my video because I thought it was just going to be separate. And it's a PSA 5. And if I look at the back, I was looking at it. I was like, what the hell happened? They actually creased up where it says rated rookie. There's a big crease, like a big giant crease on the card. So one of those dummies gave it the Minotaur hoof and creased the hell out of it.
I've heard that quite a bit, and that kind of freaks me out just thinking about, I guess that's probably few and far between, or you probably wouldn't send in for grading, I'm assuming.
Right, I wouldn't. Not only would I notice that with a fine-tooth comb, but I would also have not declared the value, $300 of a card with a big crease on the back of it.
No, I mean, like, I've seen other videos too where people are talking about like my cards got damaged. You think that's like a regular occurrence, or you think that's fairly rare? Like how many cards have you sent and that's happened?
With the volume of cards that they deal with, I would say it's likely to be pretty rare. But at the same time, when you're sending your card off for 7 months, it's really easy to forget whether that ding was there or whether you left wax on your Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So it's important for you to document the card. Just take a picture, put a file on your computer, PSA submission X or whatever, and then just take a front and back scan or a picture so that you know what condition your cards were in. That's an easy way to document it. That's it.
The second they get that Vegas Finds submission, they're like, hey, double check these for wax stains, all of them.
Yeah, and bend over it. Just
and then go back over it. What's up, Steve? How you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Nick, what do you guys think will happen to Mahomes rookies if and when the Chiefs repeat this year? Will they all double? So I have two answers to this. First off, they have to go through the Saints to win the Super Bowl. So it's a tall order. Let's just say it's a tall order, Nick.
What about the Steelers, guys?
Okay, all right. And then we have the Steelers. I know people are down on them now because they lost to the Washington football team, but I think they're still pretty good. So I'll go back to last year because I owned a bunch of Mahomes rookie cards, and I was so smart, and I was selling into the hype, and I sold all my Mahomes rookie cards leading up to the Super Bowl. Literally the week of the Super Bowl, sold probably 10 Mahomes rookie cards, and I did fine on them, but in comparison to where they are now, it's like a different planet, an absolute different planet. Now, obviously, there's a bunch of other factors that go into that, but I think the thing that's, will they double? I don't know, because I feel like there's a lot baked into his right now, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. Surely maybe they could double. I suppose anything is possible, but they are super, super expensive right now. I feel like Mahomes is kind of the safe play in football cards. If you're buying modern football cards, he's like, all right, I can buy this guy and I'm pretty safe. It's like buying LeBron in basketball, except without all the accomplishments that he doesn't have LeBron accomplishments yet. But, that's kind of my take on it. What are your thoughts, Chris?
I'm not sure double. I mean, who knows? Maybe it doubles, maybe it triples, maybe it just stays the same. I mean, it's more likely to go up. And Mahomes clearly has a safer floor than other players, but he could get injured tomorrow. He could, bomb sometime at some point. It's not likely, but it could happen. So, I mean, in your case where you sold a bunch of them, I probably would have kept like a third of them and just like left it to the side. Whatever investment I had, I would take my profit. I would get to the point where those cards were nearly free, and then I would just stash them and then just keep grinding on the side. That's generally my strategy with stuff like that when something gets really hot. Like when I got all those Damian Lillard hoops rookies, I bought every single one that I could in a PSA 10 for 100 or less, sold most of them for 300 to 400. I just kept one. I still have one over there in the back. I like Lillard.
I do the same thing usually. Try to buy multiple so I can get rid of all of them and then keep one or two or something. Yeah, Nick, I'm kind of a big believer in Taysom Hill. I know that he's kind of an unpolished QB right now. He's still trying to figure it out, but I'll be honest, I love Drew Brees. He's a legend for the Saints, obviously, best player to ever wear the uniform for New Orleans. But when the rush comes, Drew cannot get away, and Taysom Hill can get away. He's the fastest guy on our team outside of Alvin Kamara. So I kind of like that piece. Even though he's not Drew Brees, he's not a Hall of Fame guy, I like the fact that I just like Taysom Hill. I think he's good. I don't know if he's going to take us to the promised land, but I think that he's good. Bradley, I know you're a Packers fan. They look really good too. I don't want to play the Packers in Lambeau. I'll tell you that as a Saints fan. I do not want to go to Lambeau. More to lose on I like this take, Steve. You have more to lose on a Chiefs Super Bowl failure than a Super Bowl win. I agree with that. I think that's actually pretty smart. Plus, we're kind of getting to the end of football season where we're moving almost to off-season mode where prices are going to, I'm almost in buy mode for football, and we still have a month left in the season, a little bit more. So, I mean, we have 6-7 weeks left, and I'm looking to find deals. But really, the time I'm going to wait though. I'm going to wait until February, March to really buy football. All right.
I think football is difficult simply because the quarterback is such a main attraction for the entirety of the game. And even if you have a guy that's awesome and he's like Derrick Henry, he's going to be there, he's putting in yards, he's a big part of the offense, but he's still going to fade away. And, it might just be that nothing happens with him next year. It's just a lot of really weird as far as long-term goes other than quarterbacks, which has always been.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, leading up, and I'm sure you heard this too, leading up to this season with cards being so hot, it was kind of like, football cards are going to react like fantasy football, running back's going to have a huge game. And I remember saying, I remember last year, Christian McCaffrey would have a monster game, but his football cards didn't move an inch, literally didn't do anything because he's a running back and people just were not buying running backs. But I kind of bought, and I bought a bunch of Alvin Kamara stuff. I own a lot of Alvin Kamara rookie card stuff, and I'm partly okay with that just because I'm a Saints fan. So there's that collector side to it too. Right. But But he's having a great year, and nothing's. I mean, they've gone up some. They've gone up a little bit, but they're not, 10xing or anything, or even, they're not even 3xing. Some of them have doubled, but we're talking about like $25 to $50, not, 50 to 100 or whatever. It's not anything like grandiose.
Yeah, football definitely has not reacted in the same way that basketball did in the playoffs, except for like Clyde Hilaire or whatever, where he just popped off immediately, but then he cooled right back off. And I think you might see a good bit of that in the playoffs. When the playoff games start and everything is focused on that one game, whoever is doing the winning, so to speak, other than the quarterback, will probably see a short-term burst, but it's probably, very small window. You're probably looking at like a week or something.
Rascal 30 claims that it was not your fault with that wax stain, that they actually switched a wax stain card in.
It makes a lot of sense. I'd thought about that as well. I'll have to check my documentation and see. But you're probably right. They knew I was going to make that video, cracking open. If you've seen that video, oh man, not one of my finest moments.
So the other, actually, a few days, speaking of that, I hope I did I buy a wax card from you, Chris? Now I'm thinking about it like, wait a second. No, I'm kidding.
You brought a straight 5 that looks good.
So the Kareem cards that he showed, 72 tops. You cracked the 4, you're keeping the 8, and you sold me the 5.
Right.
That's what happened. Okay, I tried to buy the 8, he wasn't really having it. So.
No, I'm keeping the 8. It's too nice. I got it back there next to my Julius Erving rookie.
There's something about 70s football and basketball cards that are, I mean, nothing against 50s and 60s cards either, but I mean, 70s cards or something about them. I mean, of course, you have like the 80s stuff for like the nostalgia, but that's when they really started printing a lot. Yes. Was in the, especially like mid 80s, everything like even that 84 top set, unfortunately they printed a fair amount. It's not junk wax era, but they printed a fair amount of that stuff.
Yeah, it's like Mattingly and then air balls. But the problem with that is that it's really difficult to get that stuff in good shape. Even the wax that you get is like $25 or $30 a pack now. And a lot of that is like warped or, because of the gum. And it's really difficult to get stuff in a good grade.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right. Steve, thoughts on modern cards of vintage players? Actually, Steve, you missed the beginning of the video. Chris, so this is fun. Steve was actually pinging me about this earlier, and I thought it was a really good idea. And then, Chris, you just happened to show a couple of Kareem cards.
Oh, yeah.
That he picked up.
Kareem the Cream, baby.
Oh, yeah, Steve, Chris was kind of on the same wavelength as you, thinking about kind of modern cards of like all-time great players.
I think that sports cards are sort of like comic books in that you have key cards or key elements. You have a first appearance of a character in comic books. And, with basketball, you have the first Prism set that's the most popular. So combing over that set to find cards that haven't really gone up or haven't had attention is a good way to make some money. And I thought that Kareem was one of those guys, along with Magic Johnson and probably Larry Bird still, that haven't had enough attention for that primary set. Because as you keep going through time, people are going to go back to that Prism since it's their flagship product, and they're going to want those players eventually because those players' names will stand up through time. So I like it, but I like getting the short print stuff and then the keys, not just, any random Magic Johnson, Fleer or whatever's out there these days, Hoops Premium, whatever it is, but just the key. Like first set Prism, okay. Super short print, 50 or less, okay. That makes more sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I know Ziggy, how's it going, buddy? Multi-streaming and football. It's a great night. Yeah. We're going head to head with all of them. We're like I said at the beginning of the video, we're not afraid to compete. We're not afraid to compete with the big boys. We can compete with Tuesday night football? Like, what's wrong with the world? I feel like there's football games on every night of the week now because they're all rescheduled. It's
exactly. They're all the rescheduled schedule. What's up, Ziggy? How you doing, man?
That's crazy. It's crazy. I know. I was looking at my fantasy football and I'm like, how come it's not scoring me up? Like, why is it not bringing me to the next week? Because the week hasn't ended yet. We still have games going on.
It's weird.
Yeah, Nick bought in on the Clyde Edwards-Helaire hype with 16 autos. Boys are, but you might not be though. I mean, that's the thing where it's like, he might be a Hall of Fame running back at some point. You never, but it's just you might be waiting for a little bit.
But it's so much harder to get somebody to like a Jerry Rice status. I mean, when you look back, there's just not that many of those types of players. I mean, you look, even a guy like Lawrence Taylor, you can get a PSA 8 of his rookie for like $120 or something. And those are not easy to get in good condition. They're just not. They're just older cards.
I actually picked up a few of those a few months back. I went back and I was looking at LT rookie cards and just thinking like, man, these are not that expensive for eights. Like, I think I did.
Exactly.
And I got did I get BGS or no, it was PSA and SGC. I got a couple of each. But I was trying to get a 9, and those suckers, that's where the price starts to move up pretty quickly.
Yeah, because then you're looking at like not 2,000 or 3,000, but you're looking at like 200 or 300, because it is really hard.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, is even if I ripped wax 82 tops rack packs. I opened up a couple of those on my channel. And the thing about those is like, those rack packs are beat to all hell. Like, I mean, like they're not like, you're not getting pristine cards coming out of those packs. I don't care if you took amazing care of them. They could have been ruined like at the grocery store in 1982 where they were selling, like just being like thrown around.
Well, that's the trick from a sealed case, which is why people pay so much more, because you're way more likely to get a fresh minty card out of from a sealed case product.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a good point. I don't know though. It's like, do you think that, obviously like print quality has gotten better, like stuff that's printing today than when they were just kind of printing off previously, but you also still hear about a lot of stuff coming, right out of a pack that's off center, Prism stuff or whatever. Do you see a lot of that? I know you don't open up a lot of brand new stuff, but I saw you opened a couple boxes of like Mosaic Football and Prism. Did those come out looking good, or were they, like, how'd you feel about them coming
Here's
out?
the problem I have, that you have very common errors, and it should just be a mathematical equation, right? Like, you're producing a card, there's a process to produce it, and if somebody could make like mostly minty fresh cards, like 80% or 90% gem mint 10s out the door, you should rarely have those factory issues. The print lines on the back are a big deal. Bad off centering is crazy. Imagine paying like $1,500 for a hobby box, getting an autograph of a guy, and then having it be like a PSA 8 because the centering's off and there's a print line on the back. I mean, that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, no, you're right. Box or more, whatever. I mean, it's like, that's a tremendous amount of money. I mean, yeah. I want to ask you this. This just popped into my mind about Dominique Wilkins, a buy, and I'm not here. His rookie's 86 Fleer, right?
Yes, sir.
Dominique. Yeah. What are your thoughts on guys? These are Hall of Fame guys. A lot of hobby love. I mean, you can really high grades of those cards, and granted, 87, 88, then the print run, a long-term hold. How do you like those? It's like kind of like those Hall of Famers, the other guys.
Well, I would start in what they have when your average person who doesn't know much about that time or didn't see them play looks at them. And you take a look and see what they've accomplished in the raw, in stats. So John Stockton, he obviously has a bunch. He's the assist leader, a lot of stuff going on, all-stars, all kinds of stuff there. Dominique Wilkins, same thing. But when you're looking for cards to invest in, yes, those cards will likely go up slowly over time, simply because it makes it harder to get the cards in nice condition, and they are star players. But you really have to ask yourself, what is the catalyst that's going to drive the attention and bring the interest back? So I could tell you that Dominique Wilkins cards are underpriced. Larry Bird cards are underpriced. But what is going to bring the attention to drive that price up? And it's going to be awareness. Just like in the rest of life, when you're aware of something, you act on it. So if the more people see their play, more people get aware of that person and what their contribution was to basketball, then you could get more attention, and then you could get more of a price faster than just natural time.
Well, in your opinion, do you I mean, if you had the choice between buying, $200 cards of, Stockton and Wilk, let's say you have like 10 of those, or you can get like a PSA 3 Michael Jordan rookie card, is it better just to go after like the Grail card and like a lower grade than maybe, that diversification? I have a video on diversification coming out tomorrow where I'm talking against it, and I'll explain how I don't want to ruin it, but go ahead.
I would in that situation that you're offering me there, like a bunch of $200 Dominique Wilkins cards or one $3,000 Michael Jordan, I would go with Michael Jordan all the time, because when Michael Jordan jumps, his card is likely to jump faster and more often, and it's also likely to have a safer floor and a safer long-term demand than Wilkins. So Wilkins is underappreciated, undervalued, but if he goes up, you might be able to make more in certain windows with those, $15, $200 cards. But if you want just a set it in a closet or a safe deposit box, forget about it, I would much rather have Jordan always because he has pedigree. So you have good versus pedigree.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Ben Clark wants all the Hakeems, so we have to just kind of.
I would rather have those Olajuwons than potentially a lot of the newer rookies that you see these days that are no track record guys.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. If you're making all the different comparisons, then yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And then you have to even look at sets. 86 Fleer. Now, granted, 86 Fleer is not sneaking up on anybody. I mean, people have been buying and selling 86 Fleer for a long time, so it's not like there's some amazing deals in 86 Fleer. I don't feel like, so that set's going to be tricky, but I think that's what makes it fun though, is you have all these different kind of variables, attached to this stuff. Steve said,
I actually had a strategy. Sorry. I actually had a strategy I'm not going to employ because of my Kareem failure. So here's a little trick, guys, and I might as well just go ahead and reveal it. But if you find a Fleer sticker that's, say, a PSA 8 with a wax stain, that basically equates that card to a PSA 6. Now, if you can crack that case open and you can clean that wax stain off the back of it, you can resubmit it and get a pretty big price bump. Now, I'm going to have to practice cracking more cases before I start doing that. But there's a little trick for you. Those wax stains on the back, they can be cleaned off pretty easily. And Steve's absolutely right.
Magical Johnsons, Birds, Kareems. Yeah, and I think too, I think that Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, I put them in a different category than a Chris Mullin or Dominique Wilkins as far as the pedigree piece. And their rookie card, that 80-81 Topps, is one of those. It's going to be an iconic card if it's not already. But But then I also don't necessarily put Larry Bird, Magic Johnson in the Michael Jordan bucket. It's like you have kind of these different. Some people would put all of those guys in the same. Right. I don't think I would. But I agree with Kareem. I've been looking at a lot of. You know what I bought? I bought the other day. I think you would appreciate this. I got a 81. The second year, I think it's 81 Topps. It's the second year Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, but I got Kareem.
Hell yeah!
I got Kareem out of that set.
I got a bunch of those at PSA right now.
Those are all right. Well, let me know when they come back because I'm a buyer. I'm a buyer on that card. But they're fairly inexpensive. I got an 8, I think, for like $60 or something. I mean, it wasn't crazy. For it being now. Granted, it's not like a second year card for him or anything, but it's still, that's an important basketball set. I mean, they didn't make that many basketball cards in the early 80s between 80-81, 81-82, and then outside of those star sets, in 85, 84, 85.
83 might have been the earliest one or something. But yeah, and I wasn't even a big fan of the star sets, honestly.
Yeah, so you don't have there's just not a lot of basketball sets from the 80s, and then I don't know. I like that stuff.
I think you're going to see a lot of that information about that set of players when that document comes out, or documentary. When that comes out and you're talking about Magic Johnson and him progressing through the NBA and his trials and tribulations. First of all, Kareem was his best teammate, so you're going to see a ton about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And then you've got, obviously, the adversary wasn't Michael Jordan for the most part. I mean, it was at times, but it was Larry Bird. So those guys, and Julius Erving is in there somewhere in the mix too. I think his cards are underappreciated.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Kareem is the all-time leading scorer and LeBron can catch him, but he needs like 3 seasons, good seasons to catch him. It's not like it's just handed to him.
No.
He'll have to be lucky to stay healthy, to be able to get there. It's not going to be easy. LeBron looks like he's unbelievable how durable he is, but that we've all seen. I mean, it can change on a dime. That whole thing can change in one season. I'm not saying that that I think that'll happen. I think LeBron's a machine, but I mean, it's not a foregone conclusion that he's just going to get it.
Well, I'll tell you why I think he will. Just real quick, I think LeBron will probably end up doing it simply because, knowing LeBron, he will have at least 2 or 3 more good seasons, and then if he's like 1,000 or 900, he's 500 points away. He's going to
wheelchair out there.
Right.
He's going to wheelchair out there and get that scoring record. I got you. All right. Brad is talking about KD investing in Star Stock. I also wanted to put out there, guys, I wasn't going to say anything tonight, but I guess I can talk about it. I'm also investing in Star Stock. I am part of that $1.3 million seed money group. I put in $1 million too, and everybody kind of put in a few bucks and put their name on it. But no, I'm kidding. I didn't put any money in on that. I was just trying to steal a little bit of the spotlight. All right. So Chris, talk to me about Durant investing in Star Stock. Does that mean anything to you? And while you're talking, I'm still listening, but I'm going to get some more coffee.
I mean, to me, what's the difference whether he says that he likes Star Stock or whether he's investing in Star Stock? I mean, Vaynerchuk, that's a pretty big name right there, you know, with Gary being as popular as he is in all the spaces, whether it's cards or not. But with Durant, I mean, obviously a big star promoting your brand is going to be good for you. And you could bring in a bunch of people that weren't already looking at Star Stock. So it's going to be up to Star Stock. Is Star Stock providing the type of product that people want? Is it going to be better than eBay? How much market share can Star Stock take by being good? That's what the baseline at the end of the day is going to be. How good can they be versus the rest of the market? And then extra attention from investors, whatever. It's a benefit having a guy like Gary Vee or Vaynerchuk family because they know all about marketing. So they're going to be able to steer them in the right direction when it comes to strategies and tactics. And, you know, Kevin Durant is awesome, but he's just a dude that people know and people like. So he could have just tweeted out, yo, Star Stock's dope. And it would have been the same thing as, oh, he's investing in Star Stock. What does that mean for people who like Kevin Durant?
Yeah, I don't really know how I feel about it. I was surprised, I guess, that, and I mean, I'm kind of wondering, like, does every single basketball player, I mean, are they all in on cards now? Because you have to know, like, they have to know what's going on at this point. Like, it's not like, you know, if people are like, oh, are you into, like, they have to know that they're like cards are on the rise and they're, you know, I mean, I wonder how many of them are actually in on it. You know,
well,
I mean,
think of it like this just from a monetary perspective, since they get part of their money held in escrow and it's based on how good the NBA does, they're looking at other ways that they're making money and selling the licensing or, you know, showing up in card products, signing autographs. That's all part of them making money. So if they can promote that brand and Panini and they make that more popular, they're just making more money for themselves and more opportunity if they suddenly make less money from the NBA. If they go from, you know, making 38 million a year to only making 16, then perhaps they can make a few million doing Panini stuff.
Do you think that, I mean, because we hear about, like, you know, the PSA sale, $700 million, that's huge for a grading company.
Yeah.
You kind of hear about these fractional share companies, these massive sales. There's a $1 million plus Wayne Gretzky OPG rookie card probably going to sell here in a few days. I mean, is it, I mean, and I know it's like, we always talk about like junk wax era too. And I know you and I have talked about that a little bit. And I agree I agree with you on pieces of it, certainly. Mm-hmm. But I mean, do you think that this is kind of a sustainable, like, cards are a thing, cards are an asset class moving forward, just with because if I think back to when I was collecting, when you were collecting as kids, there was actually more collectors back then than there are now. It's just a different game now. We're just it's just a different type of game. But I mean, do you think it could really, really expand, be more mainstream, talked about?
I think that everything sort of cycles out through time. And I think we talked about that a bit before. So it depends on where the eyes are in the future. Because let's say basketball ends, sports aren't profitable anymore, nobody can go to see the games, and then suddenly something else is what people are focusing on. Just obviously not very likely to happen, but say that it does. So then in another 100 years of human existence, are those cards still going to be there? Are they still even going to be using money to make trades? Like, it really just kind of depends on where everything goes, because coins used to be way bigger than they are. And there's obviously still coins and money that's worth a lot, but there's a lot of guys that collected coins and cards. They were paired together a lot, comic books and cards. And now comics are basically new product that's, you know, shipped out to people, and then graded vintage comics. You can get raw copies, but a lot of the times people want the graded stuff. And it's the same thing with cards. It's like, is it still going to be popular in 100 years or in 20? I mean, who knows? Is it going to be there? It probably will be.
Yeah. Let me take a quick break and talk about the giveaway that we're doing December 31st. My mother-in-law does the paintings that are in the background of my videos. And we're going to give away 2 paintings on December 31st. All you have to do is subscribe to my channel and then also just comment on one of my videos, and you are entered into the randomizer thingy. And we're going to do that on December 31st. So just wanted to throw that out there for people that are watching. Also, if you have not been on Chris's channel, VegasFinds777, he has, I would say, arguably the funniest sports card YouTube channel other than maybe mine. I'm kidding. Chris has the funniest channel for sure. He really puts a lot of effort into the jokes. Brad will probably argue with me on that. Comeback card investor. He'll probably try to throw his hat in the ring, but Chris is really the one that controls that space. I think we can mostly agree there. Chris, how do you see your channel kind of moving forward? Do you think that do you have any certain like goals or different, like, I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, but also as far as content goes too, are there certain areas you want to go in, or, anything coming up on your channel that should be known?
I mean, for me, it's just a what's going on today type of a situation. Like I would like to continue to make good content. I would like to continue to make content that I'm passionate about. Obviously, as it grows, I'll probably try a few things here and there, see what works and what doesn't. But at the end of the day, for me, it's about sharing my thoughts, my feelings, and my strategies with people, and maybe a little bit of entertainment, a couple of jokes here and there. Somebody's having a bad day. This is an escape. That's why this hobby is here, so that you can get away from the craziness of life and all the bullshit that's going on, hospitals that are completely capacity, just gone, whatever. And if I can just be any bit of a laugh or a smile, then that's cool. Sharing information that I care about, then that's it. So for me, it's pretty organic. As long as I'm passionate about it, I'm going to keep trying to help people, whether it's with grading or whether it's, knowing the value of something or flipping records when sports cards go down, whatever it is. And to what Ziggy was talking about earlier real quick, I don't really like all of these group submission. We talked about this earlier. I don't like all this group submission nonsense popping up everywhere. You guys submit your cards yourselves, man.
Chris is anti-group submission outside of international orders. You did.
International, that's cool. That's totally cool because it makes logical sense. You know what I mean? I'm a man of logic, and that makes sense to me. But for somebody that's in America that can just do it themselves, just do it yourself.
Fair enough. Hot take from Chris. Steve, I agree. Actually, I should have put an asterisk there. No one is more funny than my intros. Just kidding. But no, Steve, actually, I do like your intros the best. I'm actually trying to up my intro game to compete with Steve's intros. They're impressive. So yeah, keep doing those, Steve. I appreciate you. And I agree with you. It's really just supposed to be a fun thing. The hobby is supposed to be fun, and we're all having fun. I always say it's like, this is my hobby within the hobby, so it's like, if I can, make someone's day a little bit better, then that's awesome. I agree with that.
I think you meet a lot of great people, through Twitch and through streaming over the years and through being a professional poker player. And I mean, you just meet so many interesting and cool people. Like, I didn't know any of you guys like 5 or 6 months ago. And now some of you guys are pretty good friends. It's just, you never know. But they're out there, like-minded people who share a passion for a hobby. And it's great to have that available to us in times like this, for sure. Thank you, Mountain Genetics. I appreciate it, man. And thank you, Ziggy. I will definitely crack another case like Sherlock.
Let's scoot over to basketball for a second. I know for you and I, neither one of us, we've talked about, we're not really in buy mode for basketball outside of the Kareem 72 tops. Hopefully it doesn't have a wax stain on it, the one that I got from you.
No, I don't think so. I could have.
But outside of that, I'm not. Honestly, I think it's actually a good time to maybe look at some vintage basketball stuff for me. If I'm just in, like, from what I'm buying. Vintage football too. I bought a lot of that over the last few months. But as far as just modern players, let's throw out some and maybe some off the radar, type guys, not necessarily their cards, but just like guys, kind of guys that no one's really talking about on certain teams. Like, what are you like, who could be potential breakouts? Guys that maybe nobody's really talking about. Like the Timberwolves are an interesting team. Like Karl Anthony Towns. Like he's an excellent player, and nobody talks about the guy.
He's amazing. And I believe I had him in a video maybe a couple months ago. But here's the problem. Here's the thing. You're trying to find that gold, but it's so combed over. It's just like, who is going to get the minutes? You know, who is poised? And if I talk about my main basketball pickup right now in the last couple weeks, other than the Kareem in the modern realm, you're just going to be like, I've heard it all. But I mean, it's going to be like that for most of the players, right? The guy I'm picking up now is Bol. And I'll tell you why. First of all,
1,000%. 1,000%.
They took him off of a two-way contract. He has a regular contract now.
For the record, I don't own any Bol cards. Let me just put that out there. All right, go ahead, Chris. No, actually, I want to do that thing about the contract, because that was actually I didn't know that. So say that again about his contract.
He's not on a two-way contract anymore. He's on a regular contract for $4 million, $2 million a year for 2 years. That happened on November 24th because they're going to have him part of their standard rotation. So he's probably going to either get starter minutes or somewhere close to it as we see what Bol is actually capable of. And the other part of that is that we're looking at a potentially weak rookie class. And since Bol debuted in the bubble, he is eligible for Rookie of the Year, which makes it very interesting because he has more experience than these other guys, and he's very likely to be a front runner even if he doesn't win, which should put more attention on his cards. So he should get a short-term burst at some point anyway. So he could end up awesome, or he could just end up good or talked about, which either way will be good for his prices for a time.
I just had to grab my phone so I could get on eBay quickly and get some Bol stuff.
Yeah, and let me tell you the specific ones I'm going for, because I think this is important too. I'm just revealing all the secrets here. I like the Hoops Premium. Hoops Premium Bols are great looking cards, and they're like literally $7.
Hoops Premium. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Bol. So tell me about, on the Nuggets, who's he going to take minutes away from? I mean, who's kind of the odd man out, I guess,
I was trying to think of who exactly it was, but I know they got rid of somebody else, and I know that Paul Millsap's just kind of getting old. There is a rumor that they might be getting rid of Jokic to end up with Porzingis. That's like one of those rumors that are floating around out there, that the Mavericks want to get Jokic and Doncic together, and then they would end up with Porzingis. So, I mean, there's a lot of different combinations and variations. The other guy to look for is Michael Porter Jr. Obviously, he's had almost an overhype level, but he easily come out this season and show us that passion is there and he's hungry. And he does seem to have that hunger more than some other players. So I would look for the Nuggets to maybe even morph into a Bol Michael Porter showcase to some extent, at least for a bit.
What's your read? And actually, this is actually for the audience too. If anyone is, because here's something that I think about too when I'm buying, like basketball is a great example. So even if you don't think a guy is going to be the next LeBron James. So, and for me, here's some examples. So you have Bol, you have Michael Porter Jr., you have, I would even throw Zion in this mix. And the reason why I say that is they're just highly volatile guys, meaning that if you can get a good price on their card, if Zion just goes off, or if MPG you saw what happened. Last year he had a 35-point game, and all of a sudden his rookie cards just 10x.
Right.
And it's like, he had one game, and it's like Bol has one practice. But I guess here's my point is, like, if you can get those cards in the off season, I mean, it's too late now, I suppose, for these guys, back in September, October timeframe. But then it's like, I might not think that they're necessarily the next great thing, but I know that I got them at a good price, and I know that they're attached to volatility. Right. So is that, do you kind of buy that way? That's something where maybe I should maybe look at that a little bit closer. But
absolutely, there's a lot of variables that you want to look at in that situation. First of all, what's the catalyst that is going to drive the price or potentially drive that volatility that you're talking about? And then how much of it can I get rid of in the window that I have? So if you could get 1 million Bol cards for 50 cents a piece, you probably wouldn't do it because you wouldn't be able to sell them all to make that profit. You'd have to sell stacks of 100 at a time or two, some crazy shit. So it really depends on the window that you think you have, and then how that affects the rest of your investing and collecting. So if it doesn't hurt your bankroll, he has a lot of upside, then you have an opportunity. And if there's a good window with a good price jump, then you might be able to sell more of them. But if it's going to be one of those fly by night, he had a good game, his prices are good for the weekend, then maybe you only want to buy 10 of them at a good price so that you can filter those out. Like I did that with Montrezl Harrell. I was buying his cards for like $4 or $5. I told you guys about it, made a video, and boom, Lakers news. And now they're $20 cards. I've sold at least 10 of them for $20, after shipping and fees, whatever you do. I'm tripling my money on a very small portion of my investing portfolio. Bears, Montrez, Lakers, go. It's that sort of a deal. It's just stick and move. You do that with 10 different guys, and all of a sudden you've made $1,000 off this stuff.
Right. Steve, is my take on Russell Westbrook is I kind of just feel like, first off, he's not likable. In my opinion, he's not likable. Number two, I don't think that he just hasn't shown enough in the postseason. I think people are kind of just like, you know what, this guy's never going to win a championship. He's a great, great player that's going to have good stats. That's never going to do anything. I think he falls into the kind of that bucket right now where people are just kind of down on him. He's been on it's like Carmelo Anthony. The guy's like stats wise fantastic, but just hasn't done anything in the postseason. So for me, I think that's why people are just kind of like, but that's with me saying I don't follow Russell Westbrook card prices, so I don't know kind of where he's at as far as price point.
Well, I would say, first of all, Ziggy, yeah, I would meet up with you next time you're in Vegas, as long as everything kind of calms down with all the sick stuff going on and everything. But with Westbrook, I thought the time to buy his stuff was when he was in the playoffs and he was just, everybody was down on him, and you could literally get his Topps rookie for like $15 or $16 for just like a week. And then people started to realize, like, wait a minute, this dude still has crazy stats. So here's the thing about Westbrook. He's very headstrong. The reason why he's not likable is because his passion might turn some people off to his attitude, right? So since he doesn't have anything, I would say the first place I want to look is what were his stats like when Durant left the Thunder, when Durant left OKC, and it was just Westbrook as the floor general Westbrook. What were his stats like? Because we're probably going to see something similar when he's in the Wizards, because the Wizards have a pretty good team. They got Westbrook, they've got Beal, they've got Rui. I mean, they've got a lot of pieces. So I think that the Wizards are actually one of my under the radar sleeper teams. And I'm really
sleepers in the East. No, you're right. There's a lot of teams on that roster, just a matter of putting it all together.
In fact, I'm going to go take a look real fast and see what Westbrook did. You go ahead, real go. I just wanted what his stats were when Durant bounced and went to the Warriors.
Okay.
What year was that exactly?
2016, 17? 17?
17. He averaged 25, 10, and 10. It was one of his triple-double averages. He did that in 16, 17, and 18. He's averaged a triple-double in each of those seasons. And that was like slightly less in 15. So I wonder if 16 was when Durant left. Maybe the guys out there know exactly. But, yeah, so, I mean, he might be averaging near a triple-double when he's over there in Washington, because his stats definitely took a hit while he was in Houston, obviously, because he's contending with Harden. But now he's the floor general. So I kind of like it.
What's your opinion? I don't think I've asked you about Kevin Durant. What's your opinion with him coming off of an Achilles? Do you think the Nets are going to be viable, or you think they're going to just kind of implode?
Man, I think that they have a lot of potential. Durant is just an all-time great. He's one of my favorite players. I like the Sonics back when they were a team, so Durant just naturally fell into my wheelhouse. And I watched his Thunderstruck movie even a bunch of years ago. So I've always been a Kevin Durant fan. And I think if anybody can do it, if anybody has the will to get past that sort of an injury and still be relevant, it's Durant. My problem with the Nets is literally Kyrie Irving's attitude. That is the main key. That's what I think.
Yeah. Can Kyrie Irving kind of pull it together and just play really good basketball and just do that?
I love Jared Allen. You guys know that?
Yeah, Jared Allen. Didn't Kyrie say he's not talk? I think he sounds focused. He said he's not going to talk to the media all year. I mean, I don't know if that's a good thing, or I guess it's probably a good thing. Maybe it'll keep him. Did
you see on his basketball reference page, they literally updated one of his nicknames to World Be Flat for Kyrie Irving? I just don't like his attitude, you know? I mean, that was the same thing happened with Carmelo Anthony when he was playing for the Knicks. He just had an attitude. Can't come off the bench, can't be the facilitator, got to have the ball. You just need to calm down and humble yourself in the name of winning a championship and being a team player. And, you know, Melo had to learn that, and he's got that now on the Blazers. So hats off to him over there. Kyrie, he's like, we don't have a coach. We got a guy that talks to us and stuff, but he's not really a coach. Listen up, bitch. That's Steve Nash, all right? That's Steve Nash.
I know. I really want to see that dynamic. Kyrie Irving being like and Steve Nash. Like that's going to be awesome. I'm just going to watch Nets games only to look at the sideline timeout time. Like when they get timeout, I'm watching both of those guys. That's it.
And that's why I thought it was really funny whenever the Kevin Durant and James Harden reunion, that stuff was going on. You know, the rumors. The rumor was also there that Durant wanted James Harden, but Kyrie Irving didn't. Well, of course not. That marginalizes you. You might as well go get us a drink. You know?
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I know the East actually could be really competitive. I mean, everyone talks about the West. Yeah, the West is so deep, but the East actually could be pretty decent. I mean,
they got Westbrook now. They got Westbrook on the Eastbrook.
So actually, you were talking about guys struggling to fit into roles. What do you think? Speaking of that, like, what do you think of the Warriors coming back without Clay? Because that's like really, they've been a great team with that, having a bunch of superstars and just kind of like figuring it out. How do you see the Warriors bouncing back, or do you think they will bounce back without Clay?
Well, the first question is, where is the activity going to come from? If it's not Clay, who's the shooter? Is it really Kelly Oubre Jr.? Probably not. It's more likely to be Wiggins. So Dre's going to do what he does. Curry's going to do what he does. Does Wiggins end up being the Clay of this season? If so, and they're good, then those cards could obviously go up and the Warriors could be very good. But it also might just be rebuilding season part 2 if Wiggins kind of flails and, you know, there's nothing other than Curry and Draymond to kind of go around.
Nick Wagner asks, would you rather invest in Zion or Ja? I think Zion is going to be the next Greg Oden. You know what? This kind of goes back to what I was saying before about the volatility piece, because I feel like if you can get Zion at a good price point, there's just so much excitement around this guy that like, is it like an MPJ type situation where he goes off for 40 points and his prices go nuts? Because if that's the case, if I can buy him low, now look, am I holding Zion cards for 5 years? Probably not. You know, unless he just starts getting on a roll and, you know, puts together a few seasons of you know, just great play. He wasn't playing badly when he was on the court, you know, but I mean, it's just the injury thing. Obviously, everyone's worried about. What's your take, Chris? I mean, between these two guys, do you own any of these guys? Like, do you buy any like these guys, or are you just in wait mode?
I've got some PSA 10 Ja rookies, and I've got a couple of Zion rookies that weren't worth grading because the centering was off. My take is that, you know, Zion is a cinnamon bunsman, and if he can get that under key and lock it down, maybe he can come out and surprise everybody. But I also want to go with a more established player, and I would pick Ja almost every time in this situation, simply because he's Rookie of the Year. And if you guys look, traditionally, a Rookie of the Year player will go on to have a reasonably good career, even if it's not Hall of Fame, even if it's not like 5 championships. You know, if you're Rookie of the Year, chances are you were pretty good if you had a good or solid rookie class.
Is that a thing? Have you looked at that? Have you charted that?
Was Rookie of the Year. Kareem was Rookie of the Year. LeBron was Rookie of the Year. I mean, I don't have the exact list, but I would, you know, wager that Rookie of the Years were worth money later on in their career than not.
Yeah, no, that's a good. And I was asking just out of sheer curiosity, like, you know, that's a pretty interesting take. You know, if you're looking, taking a look at Rookie of the Years, that's cool.
But I'm no knock here to Zion. I'm just kidding when I call him a cinnamon bunsman. I mean, I'm obviously one myself. I really do think that he could come out and show people, hey, he's lost weight. He's heard all the jokes, you know. I mean, that's one thing, is that there's a lot of bullying that goes on towards sports stars. You know, oh, this guy's fat. He did horrible. Oh, Westbrook sucks. Oh, this guy, that guy. There's a lot of like tomato throwing in this place as well. Just calm down and let the man show us what he can do. He didn't do that well in the bubble. He can definitely come out. He obviously has skills. He was #1 pick for a reason. Let's give him a chance at least. So I wouldn't write him off. And honestly, those NBA Hoops premium rookies are not that expensive. I think they're like $50 or something. I think that set has potential.
I'll be watching. I will be watching. All right. Let us know if you guys have any questions, any other questions. Throw them in the chat. We're about an hour and 10 minutes in. We'll go a little bit longer if you have any other questions.
Yeah, Michael Carter Williams. I mean, you're always going to have the exception to the rule, and I think Brogdon actually could get more value than people are giving him currently. To be honest, it's unfortunate for Malcolm.
I asked my mother-in-law to paint me some sports cards, and all she did was yell at me that I was the worst thing that happened to her daughter.
Damn.
You know what? And this is exactly the reason why we do these lives. If you guys are struggling with stuff like this and you just need a break and a of entertainment a little bit, we're here for you. So a wise boy, I love it, man. That's hilarious. Actually, I hope that you're kidding. I hope that's a joke. I really hope that you're kidding.
I think I would take Lafreniere almost every time over Jack Hughes.
Is that the new rookie, Alexi Lafreniere. See, I know my hockey. I know my hockey.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, Jack Hughes did not have a great season. It was Quinn Hughes that had the better season, making it deep into the playoffs and everything. So I would like to see what Jack Hughes is made of. And this is from a dude who has a Devils jersey just like right across the room over there. I've been a Devils fan my whole life pretty much. So I would like to see something from Jack Hughes. I'm waiting. But as of right now, I would take Lafreniere every time. I mean, if you look at his stats, he had like some ungodly like Wayne Gretzky amount of points in just a few games. It was like 52 games, 97 points or some crazy shit. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I think that Van Gundy can't hurt in New Orleans. Alvin Gentry, not that I think Gentry is probably a great coach, but it just didn't seem to be working. And I don't know and you could tell Zion, and maybe he was saving Zion from himself with his knees, but you could tell there was frustration of just not getting the minutes that he wanted to get. But look, I mean, I'm sure that Gentry had a reason to keep him out, to help him, to help kind of save him a little bit.
Right. Yeah, and like I said, he's obviously going to get minutes, so we'll see exactly where it goes. And yeah, Ziggy, I ended up with one Alexi. I opened up like 3 boxes of the Upper Deck Series 1, and the best cards that I got were a 1-of-1 printing plate of Quinn Hughes that I sold for $200, and then I still have the Alexi over there, which I'm considering whether I'm going to send in or not. It's probably a 9. Vegas has a team. We have a Wnba team, unfortunately. We have the Las Vegas Aces.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, we don't have an NBA team yet, but we do usually have some sort of like exhibition game come through, something like that. But yeah, I wish there was a basketball team around here.
Well, and then when the XFL starts back up, or the WWE Football League, they'll start in Las Vegas. That'll be where
we got the Raiders. I mean, what else do you need?
That's right. Actually, have you? You haven't been to the Death Star, the new stadium, because that just opened this season, right? Not last season. It was this season.
I see it. We drive by it all the time, man. We're always down there, see pictures, whatever else. Maybe I can include some footage of it in my next video or something like that. But yeah, it's great. It's a great looking stadium. Other than that big ugly ass Allegiant logo on the side of it, otherwise it's awesome.
Yeah, we were actually last year. We were going to go to the Saints Raiders game. We were going to travel for that game that they played. Probably good that we didn't because we lost that game to the Raiders. But we were planning on going to Vegas to, just to see that new stadium.
Yeah, it's a beautiful stadium, man. It is. It's caused the traffic to become quite crazy down there, though. That's for sure.
Yeah. No, I bet. All right, guys. I think we're going to wrap up. We're at the hour and 15-minute mark, roughly. So throw in any last-second comments. Get it in. Comments, questions.
Yeah. Give them a 5-minute AMA or something.
I'm sure most of you know VegasFinds777 YouTube channel, but if you have not been there, please go there and check his stuff out. He's got really funny and informative videos for sure. And it's mostly sports cards. He's got some other collectible stuff mixed in there, but it's mainly sports card stuff.
Yeah, I just can't help myself. I like the vinyl and stuff. I like the action figures. And somebody said earlier that the old school wrestling action figures were good, and they really are. Those are great. You don't really find them in the sealed condition that often, but when you do, those are juicy.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, I agree. I've been trying to find some Masters of the Universe in-box stuff, like original stuff, and that is not easy to find at all.
No. And it's expensive as all hell. And usually the problem with that is that the bubble on the card is yellow. That's worst. You just get a yellow-ass bubble, and it's just not the...
Well, it's all the smoking. It's all the smoking indoors in the 80s that. That. Do you think there's going to be a trickle down from that Gretzky, OPG, rookie going off? Do you think that's going to impact the lower grades?
I would assume at some point that it would, yes, simply because of attention. Like people are like, whoa, a Gretzky for $1 million? Let me see if I can get some Gretzky for some amount, so attention will do it. But what people need to realize when they're seeing these super high-end cards is that it's filtered through to a different type of a collector. So if you have a PSA 10 of a card that's like a Mickey Mantle rookie of some sort, and it's like, bam, PSA 10, there's only a few different types of collectors who are going to have the capital to buy that. So then you have the rest of the population that has to try to get something at a lower grade. But at the end of the day, attention is going to definitely benefit hockey cards in general. So I'm excited about that because I have tons of hockey cards and would like to see the market improve.
My one, I guess, like playing devil's advocate with that is the price tag for that card is really because it's a pop 2. There's only 2 of them. So if you're looking at like a multiplier on how many 9s are there and how many 10s are there, I don't have that in front of me exactly how many 9s there are, but there's quite a few 9s, like, a fair amount. There's not like 10,000 of them, but that differential is massive. Just the fact that there's just none of them out there. That's what makes that price tag go nuts.
Right, but then you're going to have Wayne Gretzky's name splattered across all of sports card hobbies, and they're going to be like, "Whoa, that guy was a goat too." And then some number or some percentage of people will check out hockey cards, and then they'll hear about Alexei and everything that's going on with the Rangers. And my favorite guy, Artemi Panarin. If you guys haven't heard of this dude, this is the guy's cards you want to pick up. I was already picking his stuff up before I even realized that Alexei was their draft pick. So, yeah, Panarin has a lot of potential for this season. He's a beast.
Mountain genetics, with pass rushers, I just don't know. With football, I bought some pass rushers. I mean, we were talking earlier about Lawrence Taylor rookie cards being fairly inexpensive, and he's the greatest pass rusher of all time, you could say. He's 5 for sure. I would say he's the best defensive player ever. So Chase Young – it's just tough because I guess it depends on what card it is. Are you collecting it? Are you looking to flip that quickly? There's so many different questions with that as to whether or not Chase Young is worth investing. That's kind of a tough one to answer. You said about $100. Which card is it? Is it an auto like RPA or is it something special? There's so many different things with that, but football is just tricky. You don't get the same type of movement on football cards as you do with basketball or even baseball or some of the other stuff. So sure. I wouldn't buy Chase Young, but that's not, that means nothing. If you like Chase Young and, you think it's a good value. I don't know. What's your take, Chris, on pass rushers in football?
To be honest with you, I'm not like super deep in the nooks and crannies of football, but I would just say from a holistic perspective, genetics, he's got what you need, then you pick him up, man. If you believe in him and you like him, then jam down on his cards and don't let anybody tell you different.
Oh, that's nice. Thanks, man. This was more entertaining than the virtual card show. 2 of my faves chatting up. Appreciate that. Yeah, sorry, Jeff. Jeff, we pulled about 50 people away from the 10 million people that you had watching the virtual card show. I know he's devastated about it.
Well, you know what? Those people are going to need a nap, and our people are going to need a drink. I'd rather be over
here. That's great. All right. All right. Thanks. Hey, thanks, Luigi. Appreciate it, guys. I think we are going to go ahead and bow out. But we will be back on. Chris is going to be a regular. And you guys know, I usually have, Brad comes on. I've got Steve, Flippin' Steve that comes on. I think I've got less Alex on Thursday night. I believe that's what it's going to be. Still trying to confirm that, but I think we're good to go. Les Alex will be on Thursday night. So yeah, we've got a pretty good rotation here where we got, and I want to get others as well. But it's just finding the time and, it's there's a lot going on.
Who you're trying to get on my channel? Bull.
Chris only interviews active players. So, he's only going to do lives with active athletes. So that's why it's I've been trying to get on his show for months. It's just not happening. And I told him I've got a pretty good I've got a great mid-range jumper too. He doesn't care. He doesn't care.
Yeah, coach said no.
All right, guys. Thanks again for joining. Chris, thanks for being on. We'll be back. We'll have Chris on again probably another 6 weeks or so. We'll get him back in the rotation. Have a great night. We will talk to you later.
Catch you guys later.